I dream and the world trembles.
Hey guys, it's Measley again, and it's finally time for patch 8.2. And today I'm excited to bring you my patch 8.2 survival guide for gold making. This video will be split into multiple parts, and you'll be able to find timestamps for each section in the description box below. First up, I'll start with an overview of significant profession changes, as well as what you can do to prepare for the patch. If you want in-depth information about any profession, that'll be the last part of the video. Anyway, to get started, here are my general guidelines for how to prepare for the patch to make the most gold. First, there will be new materials across the board for every single profession except for enchanting. However, some of the old materials will still be used, but not as much as before. If you're an enchanter or want to do some flipping, I hope you've already started stockpiling some of those mats. As for which old materials you'll want to get, I'll go into more depth in the last part of the video. Onto my second point, it's that expulsum will still be needed. So it'd be good to stock up and get the cloth or leather you do your shuffles with. On to number 3, depending on the sources of the best recipes for your professions, you'll want to plan out what content to do first and which reputation to prioritize to get your rank 3 recipes as soon as possible, because that'll give you a temporary but significant advantage over your competitors. And as for point 4, I just want to quickly point out that a new tier of BoE gear will be coming out for most of the crafting professions, for which the rank 2 and rank 3 recipes can be bought with marks of honor. Moving on, another significant update to professions is mount equipment. Enchanting, leatherworking, blacksmithing, and tailoring will all be able to craft one, and I expect these to be a pretty hot commodity. Funny thing though, I was just watching the official patch 8.2 survival guide, and they actually left out blacksmithing as being one of the professions that can craft mount equipment, but I am pretty sure that will not be the case. Next, for some quick profession specific tips, for alchemy and enchanting, you'll want to pay attention to how the meta shapes up, as in which potions and weapon enchants will be the best, since there will be a variety of these. By doing this, you'll be able to decide which crafts and recipes to prioritize, as well as price higher and list more frequently on the auction house. Lastly, to end off part 1 of this video, I want to mention that blacksmithing and engineering both have a new item that they can craft that when combined becomes a new mount, and that the new recipes drop from the Operation Mechagon Mega Dungeon. So if you want to take part in this opportunity, you'll have to get ready for some dungeoneering. Now to start off part 2, I want to first talk about Benthic gear. Although these pieces are account bound and are thus not sellable on the auction house, there are certain pieces I want to point out that are different from your usual DPS increases. First, we have the Benthic leggings that increase speed in Nazjatar and the Eternal Palace, which will also be good for gatherers. By the way, there aren't any Benthic affixes that are unique to any armor class. Next, we have swim speed bracers that might not be that useful but could see some niche uses. And next up, we have a pretty notable one, which is a cloak affix that lets you loot additional fish. And finally, last but not least, we have boots that increase mount speed. And one last thing I want to quickly point out is that there are certain Benthic pieces that allow for the collection of certain items, which are used for the Murloc Trader and certain events. But since these aren't really tied to gold making, save for some reputation gains, I'm not going to get into the details in this video. Next, my second miscellaneous gold making tip for 8.2 is that mobs drop BoEs in Nazjatar. First, there are armor pieces that have the same model as the Benthic pieces but have a different tint. So these could be in a bit of a demand for transmog. In addition, and probably better, there are also weapons that you'll be able to find in Nazjatar. So as you're questing through Nazjatar and find these pieces, if you're not using them, don't vendor or disenchant them right off the bat, but rather see how much they sell for on the auction house. For my third tip, I want to point out that many rares in both Nazjatar and Mechagon drop pets. Though not all of the pets are cageable, most of them are. Similar to Argus, you'll be able to kill the rares once a day for a chance at getting these pets. Now in Mechagon, there are actually additional ways to acquire cageable pets. Besides getting them from rares, you can also get 2 of them from Junkyard Tinkering, for which you basically turn in Mechagon materials to an NPC to craft these pets. In addition to that, there are also 2 pets that drop from the Operation Mechagon Mega Dungeon. Now, I've already gone through pet drops in both zones, but there's yet another way to make gold with battle pets in patch 8.2. In the beginning of the video, I mentioned that crafters that get the higher rank recipes first will be at a significant advantage. And believe it or not, battle pets actually help you reach that goal faster. because for each legendary pet encounter you defeat in Nazjatar and Mechagon, you receive 250 rep to that zone's faction. And in the case of Nazjatar, that's 3000 additional rep you'll be able to get if you manage to defeat all of them. But regardless of whether you actually want to challenge these encounters, the way you can make gold with this is to sell or flip those pets that are going to be optimal for these encounters. And that's because people are going to be going on Wowhead like I'm doing right now to search for strategies to actually overcome these challenges. And of these pets, the most valuable ones are looking to be the Drudge Ghoul, which drops from the Lich King, the Dark Moon Tonk from the Dark Moon Fair, and the Twilight Clutch Sister, which drops from Valiona in the Bastion of Twilight. And that's not to say that the other more common pets won't become more valuable as well. So go ahead and farm these pets or buy them out from the auction house for cheap before people find out about this tip. And you can even sell level 25 and rare versions of these pets for more profits. And looking real quick at Mechagon's pet battles, the encounters here don't award as much rep as those on Nazjatar, but what's notable here is that both the Icky Pet and the Twilight Clutch Sister are used for the main strategies for both zones. And although the Unborn Valkyr is as well, it actually isn't a cageable pet. I really want to re-emphasize how crucial it is to get your rank 3 recipes as soon as possible. By having them, you'll usually be able to comfortably undercut your competition, yet still enjoy decent profit margins. And in addition to rep, in this section I'll actually cover other ways you'll be able to get a head start in your professions. So my first tip, and as a reminder, is to farm Marks of Honor. Because if the previous patch was any indication, the new BoE gear will be very lucrative at the start of 8.2, and especially since the mobs of Nazjatar are somewhat challenging. And next, I'm going to dive into gaining reputation with either the Ankoan or the Unshackled depending on your faction. But note that the only profession recipes they offer are for Alchemy and Enchanting, and with Inscription just getting their contract recipe at Revered. So if you aren't going to be focused on any of these professions, consider skipping to the next part, and again the timestamps are in the description box below. The first way to get reputation with these factions is to participate in the Summons from the Depths event. Every few hours in Nazjatar, you'll receive an announcement in chat, signaling that the event has started. Subsequently, you want to head to the large skull on your map, kill the elites that spawn, then kill the boss that spawns to receive 150 reputation to your faction. Although it looks like you can only receive the rep once a day, this event is pretty easy to do and you get rewarded with other loot drops as well. Next, another way to get rep is to partake in the Battle for Nazjatar, which is a war mode only event that spawns once every 3 hours, and as of the recording of this video rewards 500 reputation for just participating regardless of whether you win or lose. However, additional data has surfaced suggesting that this rep might be a one-time reward attached to a quest. And if that's the case, which I think is likely based on how frequently the event spawns, since 500 rep every 3 hours is way too good, this may not end up being a way to farm reputation, but just keep your eyes peeled just in case. Next we have the Mardivas' laboratory method, which is equipping a specific piece of Benthic gear that will enable the collection of certain elemental reagents. That, if you gather the right types of, will allow you to summon a rare spawn, which if you kill will give you 500 reputation. The quest to get to Mardivas' lab is started by opening treasures and can be done once a week. Moving on, I've already covered this, but doing the legendary pet battles in the zone will award you with 250 rep per battle and up to 3000 rep for completing them all. Again, there's a guide on Wowhead to show you the best strategies and pets to use to defeat these encounters. And the remaining methods are just your standard ways of getting reputation, which includes your normal Nazjatar questline, daily quests, contracts from Inscription, killing rare spawns, emissary caches, and world quests. Up next, I will briefly talk about the Rustbolt resistance of Mechagon and how to get reputation with this faction. The recipes that it offers are only for cooking, engineering, and the Inscription contract. So again, if you're not looking to get any of these, feel free to skip ahead to the next section of the video. First, if we exclude the pet battle ones, Mechagon only features one world quest per day, but it rewards 850 reputation. Next, you also have daily quests for 150 rep each, bonus rep from contracts, and occasionally a blueprint will drop that will allow you to turn Mechagon scraps into reputation tokens. And as I've mentioned before, the legendary pet battles will give you 250 reps for each first completion, up to 2000 rep for all 8 encounters. And next we have killing rare spawns, which will give you 75 reputation each, which is quite standard. And lastly, we have the Rebuilding the Spider Tank questline, which will reward you with 900 rev for 12 days of progress. Lastly, this doesn't pertain to gold making as much, but if you want to craft the high-end BOP items, you'll actually have to unlock a crafting station called the Abyss Focus, which can be unlocked via a questline at coordinates 38-37, and then requires a lot of the Nazjatar currency to unlock, and with raid turn-ins eventually allowing you to unlock ranks 2 and 3. Now, for the very last part of this video, I will go through each and every profession, how to get their rank 3 recipes that don't come from trainers, and which old BFA materials will still be relevant. First up, we have cooking, for which all the rank 3s come from World Quest work orders, except for the feast, which you get rank 2 from getting exalted with the Rustbolt resistance, and rank 3 from Mechagon bosses. The feast will require the new fish from both Mechagon and Nazjatar, in addition to stringy loins and meaty haunch. Aromatic fish oil, on the other hand, should see a decline in price, due to having much less demand. Moving on to blacksmithing, we have the new BoE and BOP gear, water-walking mount equipment, and the new chassis for the Zillowag ATV mount, for which the recipe drops from a specific boss in Operation Mechagon. As for the old mats, all the old ore will generally still be in demand. If anything, storm silver will be used slightly more in the new recipes. Moving on to leatherworking, besides the BoE and BOP gear and mount equipment, you can also craft a new water-breathing pouch called the Dredged Leather Bladder, which will also be used as material for blacksmith's new mount equipment. As for the old materials, bloodstained bones, mistscale, and normal tempest hide will see demand, while the other old mats should drop in price. Moving on to tailoring, it's pretty much the same drill with a bit less to talk about, with it just getting new BoE gear, BOP gear, and slow fall mount equipment. As for the old mats, deep sea satin and embroidered deep sea satin will see use, while the demand should be lower for tight sprayed linen. Next, for jewelcrafting, there will be a completely new tier of gems rare to epic, all from prospecting the new ore. There will also be new BOP rings that only uses the new materials, besides Expulsum of course. No old mats will be used in any of the new recipes with the exception of Storm Silver ore, which is still used in the BoE staff. Moving on to alchemy, we have a new BOP high level trinket, and a completely new tier of potions and flasks. However, all the old herbs will still be used for the new pots and flasks, but Winter's Kiss and Akunda's Bite are not used in any of the new flasks. To get your alchemy rank 3 recipes, for flasks you'll get them from work orders, potions you'll get them from world drops from Nazjatar, or revealed with the Nazjatar faction, or from Operation Mechagon. On to enchanting next, there will be a new BoE wand as well as a completely new tier of enchants for both weapons and rings. However, it's the only profession that's still purely using the old reagents. To get your rank 3 recipes, the weapon enchant ones come from work orders, while the ones for the ring enchants come from being revered with your Nazjatar faction. Next, moving on to engineering, again the supercharged engine is a component for the new Zillowag ATV mount, and its schematic drops from a boss in Operation Mechagon. Also, the Blingtron 7000 is finally coming to us, with its schematic coming from Exalted with the Rustbolt resistance. There are also schematics for Uber modules that allow you to specify which Uber construct to spawn. That comes from being revered with the Rustbolt resistance. And as for still relevant old mats, Platinum is going to be pretty in demand for crafting the new goggles. And for our last crafting profession, we have Inscription. As for your recipes, the ones for the contracts as usual come from getting revered with each respective faction. The Vantasrune recipe and ranks drop from the new Eternal Palace raid, and there are also some new glyphs that come from either random world drops or specific Nazjatar boss drops. Of the old mats, mainly Maroon ink and Ultramarine ink will still see use, with Crimson ink being very seldom used in the new recipes. And Viridescent ink and its pigment will not be used at all. And lastly, there will be a new set of trinkets craftable by Inscription, with their recipes simply coming from the trainer. Moving on, the very last thing I want to cover is mining, herbalism, and skinning. To obtain rank 2 gathering proficiency for the new materials, you'll have to kill specific rares in Nazjatar. Miners have to target Avarius, Herbalists the Carnivorous Lasher, and Skinners have to go for Vorkoth, who I believe spawns from throwing meat into the waters at coordinates 48-24, as I am doing for this quest in this video clip. Although I could be wrong, but I'm sure data about these 3 rares will surface quickly after the patch releases. By the way, as a bit of a bonus, each of these rares also has a chance of dropping a pet. As for the rank 3 recipes, they just come from discovery as you gather more of these materials. And that concludes my Rise of Azshara gold making survival guide. If you found the video helpful, consider subscribing to my channel and hitting that notification bell for more videos just like this one. And before we go, I want to quickly plug my other YouTube channel, on which I talk about making actual real money online. A link to it will be in the description section and will also pop up towards the end of this video. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, enjoy patch 8.2, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.